penalty shootout to keep the Champions League dream alive.
You ever ask a man how he's doing and he says, I'm alright. I'm here to tell you, that man is not alright.
It was an unlucky draw that saw Go Ahead Eagles face Sporting Clube de Portugal. In order to prepare for this and the upcoming Eredivisie campaign, transfers had to be made. Goodbye to Vinicius Souza and Chroo, as they left for 12 and 10 million separately. Sayonara to Guillo as well, whose initial fee quintupled. So, who arrived? Firstly, the free transfers of Rick Hardsdorp, Thomas Araujo, and Branko van de Boomen, who'd all provide depth and tutoring. Another right wing back arrived with Robert Marcos of Paraguay, a fairly cheap deal, which was similar with Ludogorets' Alien Timov for 3.5 million. They'd be joined by another young prospect in Fiti Ayash, who would sometimes play in the back. That was until his Feyenoord stinker in the Johan Cruyff shop, as that sometimes is now rarely. Then, the big transfer would be attacking midfielder, President David Palmer.
I was told this is an urgent matter.
An absolute stud for 9.5 million. In the lead up to the Sporting tie, Koeman rejected an 8.5 million offer for Jolson as he was still the #1 keeper.
5 hours later.
He injured his hip 5 hours later. So, Hoffenheim's Morris Strikespire was bought for 9.25 million and saved Thiago Thomas's penalty. He'd also save Jose Marsa's. Go Ahead would then easily defeat Lech Poznan in the final qualifying round, returning to the Champions League. Sadly, all these matches were impacting the Eredivisie campaign, with Valvik stunning the side on opening day.
Damn!
There was also a home loss to Ajax prior to September, with Stefan Baumgart showing Koeman up. On deadline day, Todd Bowley barged through and spent 24 million on Haydar, with some bonuses down the line. Now a center back was required, and his replacement came from the Samba land itself. Lidemar Adamati of Santos arrived for 13.75 million, and the club had enough funds for another purchase. This time, Fluminense's Wendell, an 18.5 million transfer whose only fault is his injury proneness. Where have I heard that before? Well, he scored off the bench on his debut versus Twente, where the club smoked them 3-0. Against Pek Zwolle, they were winning against their local rivals in what was looking like a dominant display. Maybe this is the moment I'll talk about them. Forget about them, because the real fixture was with Feyenoord. FC Eindhoven were defeated prior, but it was a must-win against a club who barely won the league last season. They made so many transfers, but the key one would be Mateo Kovacic.
That's a nice side. That's a nice side, but he's fit.
Now 35, Go Ahead tried to lure him, but he wanted over 50k a week. He played for Chelsea this entire time and won multiple trophies, including 2 Premier Leagues. He'd also helped Feyenoord win, as preventing multiple inside passes didn't work, with Faras getting the lone goal, as things were beginning to shape up for Jan Dahl Tomasson. You've been waiting and praying for it, but Schallen gets to play his cousin, Erling Haaland.
I think you are the only one that maybe know how to score a lot of goals.
This monumental matchup will be watched by millions. But how was the Champions League going? Molde and Rennes were barely defeated, while 1-1 draws occurred versus both PAOK and Benfica. No losses, but with Haaland as your next opponent, good luck. I compare him to rolling a dice. If you roll a 1, he has a stinker. If you get a 2, he misses a bunch of chances. 3 is a goal. 4 is a brace. 5 will be a hat trick. And 6 means he completely obliterated you. While nullifying Haaland was an impossible fate, Schallen would actually grab one himself to bring Go Ahead within 1. However, we already know about the dice roll, with Haaland claiming a hat trick. Nevertheless, a really good effort. With a win versus Valencia in December, top 8 was still a possibility. A playoff spot would be guaranteed, as Conceição and co were no match for Havlik and Boongard. A win versus Leverkusen at home would just about guarantee top 8, as Boongard's 36-minute goal seemed more than enough. But in the 88th minute, pain struck, as Bajcetic scored a near-post corner to equalize. That header would cost Go Ahead, as those drop points would force them in the playoff round, where they later face AC Milan. Could Feyenoord's run be ending? Well, not before a frustrating Utrecht draw. Nevertheless, when a job interview request arrived on Koeman's desk, he was confused. Why would the manager who led Feyenoord to 3 straight Eredivisie titles leave? Premier League money. At the time, the gap between them was 5 points, which would remain until the new year. Noteworthy moments included Wendell scoring a brace versus AZ Alkmaar and a last-minute winner against PSV. In the 8 matches, there were 7 wins, with the sole loss being against Heerenveen, where the team decided to be morons. Regardless, the moment where Feyenoord finally slipped was on matchday 17, where they drew Eindhoven. They do it again 2 matchdays later, while Go Ahead defeated Groningen with a Sol Inwakali goal. Woefully, he tore his back muscle in that game, which sounded very painful. Still, it bridged the gap within 2, which didn't last long at all, as Emmen stunned everyone with a Bergzorg brace 7 days later. With long injuries to 2 of the cams, and not wanting Scott Guest to get significant minutes, a loan came on January's deadline day. Guillermo Santos was the player, and immediately got off the Amsterdam Schiphol airport, took a train to Deventer, made his debut in the Dutch Cup versus ADO Den Haag, scored, and got an assist. One last notable moment from January was Boongaard's poker versus Utrecht. He dedicated the goals to Tati Castellanos as he watched his highlights versus Real Madrid the night prior. It was AC Milan. Managed now by Mikel Arteta, they have won 3 Serie A's in the first half of this adventure. Their team is relatively familiar, but has guys like Shoutalo, Zaniolo, Di Marco, for some reason, Renato Sanchez, and Mateus Nunes. So in the first leg, it was a good old defensive battle, but the worrying thing for Go Ahead is that the second leg is at the San Siro. AC Milan are European royalty despite not winning it in over 20 years. Plus, Adamati got injured, and Crewman decided to change his instructions. It clearly was a mistake, with all the pressure coming from the home side. Telling the team to focus was futile, and in the 40th minute, Milan would open the scoring. The Clown reverted everything back, and Boongaard would score right from the kickoff. A lot of action happened in the remaining 50 minutes, making it look really even. However, it went to extra time, and Milan were starting to take control. In the second half, they'd hit the post, reloaded the play, and found a simple pass to Leao, taking the aggregate lead. Go Ahead couldn't get an equalizer, and were eliminated. After the disappointing exit, there was a double header versus Feyenoord. On the way there, Valbeek were edged out 2-1 thanks to Boongaard's 93rd minute winner, and VV was the same score in the KMV Becker. PSV were dealt with 2-0, Heracles Almelo was another 2-1 thanks to a Schallen brace, while Heerenveen frustrated once again as it required an 89th minute equalizer from Schallen. So, with a chance to make the KMV Becker final, Feyenoord were in the way. Oliver Glasner was now the coach, and he uses the same exact formation as Crewman. On paper, it seemed like it'd be as exciting as a Jigglypuff Ditto in competitive Smash Bros. But in reality, the Eagles took the lead 16 minutes in, thanks to Boongaard being dropped into a shadow striker. A few more chances were arriving, until a cross from nowhere landed on Van de Beek's head and into the back of the net. A few more scares arrived, but the game went to extra time. The first half provided nothing, and with the players on the verge of collapsing, a penalty was won thanks to Gotzi. Schallen would bulldoze the ball in the middle, and he would confirm the victory with a brace minutes later. Another cup final on the way. With both teams absolutely exhausted for the Eredivisie fixture just days later, the 5-point gap between the two sides would change. The lone goal would come after the half, with Havlik finding David Palmer. A clean sheet was kept, meaning Go Ahead are within 2 points of Feyenoord. Ajax would also lose, making things interesting with 8 matches remaining. After a simple victory over Pek Zwolle, Ajax were next. They had one bad month earlier in the campaign, seeing Baumgart getting a harsh sacking. Their new manager was Nuno Espirito Santo, who finished the sabbatical lasting for over 2 years. A win versus them at the Johan Cruyff Arena would be fantastic. A draw would still keep things alive, and a loss would make things close to impossible. The away side were looking like the stronger team, as in the 28th minute, Boongaard was found in behind and calmly took the lead. A crucial goal, which was nullified prior to the half, as Maracos decided to not look at the ball, as it smacked him in the head, giving Kudus an easy finish. Why was he even there? It was their first shot of the game, but Go Ahead would stay calm and take advantage of an Ajax mistake themselves, seeing Boongaard find the bottom corner. Everything was going well, and as full time was approaching, Crewman decided to shut things down as he heard someone in the crowd yell, "Park the bus!" Despite dropping the line, a simple Malasia long ball found Carrillo behind, and with minutes left, he'd equalize. Feyenoord then smoked Heerenveen to regain a 4-point lead. The top 3 all won their next fixture, keeping the standings the same with 5 remaining. The thriller in Manila West Germany versus Argentina, the Roadrunner and Wild E Coyote, all behind the most anticipated rematch ever. The 2029 Dutch Cup final between Go Ahead Eagles and FC Twente. And this one was livelier than the last. You didn't have to wait too long for a goal, as Mohamed Kamara's brilliant pass found Palmer for the lead. The president was feeling it, later taking a half volley from distance, but Havlic's rebound was offside. With this looking like last year's final, that soon changed when a Twente corner was knotted in out of nothing. And just minutes later, the tables turned. Okay, that should be fine. What just happened? Why didn't you jump? 2 subs were made for the wingbacks at halftime, but the attackers were having stinkers. So with 13 minutes left, all the subs were made, but the time kept diminishing. Okay, let's go. Nvakali wins the ball back. Palmer now finds Wendell. Wendell, our Brazilian wonder, equalizes it. Let's go. Kamara would hit the post in the 95th minute, so extra time arrived. And with Gramai somehow not scoring this, penalties would decide everything. And Mokali and Sadilek opened their accounts, and Palmer followed. But Har would be stopped by Strikespire. Van de Boomen converted next, and Twente would too. Camera to make it 4-2. Camera, this is where our bad takers pop up. No, Isaka. He scores. Now Wendell. He scored the game-tying goal. Can he score from the spot? Hits the post. What is this? Juarez now can win the cup for Twente. He stopped as well. Oh gosh. Oh, FT Mob does the safe thing and kicks it in the middle. Pedersen needs to score to keep Twente alive, and he tucks it beautifully. Gurmai, our Norwegian defender, he scores. He tucks it well. Pionkovsky stepping up the pole. It stopped. It is stopped! Back-to-back Dutch Cups that would make Chroo an icon at the club. But just like last season, the same question arrives.
What's he cooking?
This is the current situation with 5 matches remaining. It may be unlikely for Go Ahead, but with Feyenoord having to play PSV and Ajax away in the final 3 matches, all you can do is win every single one and pray. The 3 contenders would do that on match day 30 and 31. So up came PSV versus Feyenoord, and the result was a 2-2 draw. A rematch with Twente followed, with David Palmer taking an early lead. Nothing else worthwhile would occur this easily. God, I swear. They almost equalized in the 82nd too, but Go Ahead survived, while Ajax didn't. The penultimate match day would see everyone involved win, although NAC Breda did make it tough. So on the final day of the season, Go Ahead visited Vitesse, while Ajax hosted Feyenoord. Nuno's side had no hope to win the title, but there's no shot they wanted their big rivals to lift the shield on their ground. Although, a loss was needed, as a draw wouldn't be enough due to goal difference. Bungar did score 2, and while Marvin Park's goal was nerve-wracking, the 3 points were earned. However, no updates were heard throughout the other fixture, and as the final results came in, nope. Oh my gosh. Still not enough. So next season,
I have to finish the story.